Hi everyone, it's Priya Stanley from madebyMilda.com. I'm going to show you how to make this card for Christmas time featuring some lovely snowflakes. So we start off with an A4 piece of white cardstock that I'm going to cut vertically in half, so at about 10.5 centimeters, and I cut straight down. This will make a top folding vertical card. So yep, here I go. I'm just matching up the corners as I usually do, and then with my bone folder I just press down, making sure that's absolutely straight. Just press down so I get a nice crisp edge, a card that will stay shut and fold properly. So okay, now that that's done, we're going to create a little mat, or fake mat really, and I'm going to do that by masking off an area with washi tape. So I'm taking a bit of washi tape. I'm just taking off the tack off the washi tape. Washi tape is repositionable, but it can, if you're not careful, take some of the paper off with it when you rip it off. So by taking some of the tack off by rubbing it on your hands, you're kind of taking some of that stickiness off, and so when you go to take it off your paper, it's not going to rip layers off your paper, or so you hope. I have been wrong in the past, but yeah, you can't be too careful, so you want to take off some of that tack. So here I go. I'm going to put down a strip of washi tape right up against the edge on all four sides of the cardstock of my front panel. So here I've done it all now, and here is some Pistachio pudding Stampin Up ink, and I'm going to ink inside that masked off rectangular area with a mini ink blending tool from Tim Holtz. So now I'm just going to test it out on some scrap paper before I go in straight away. I want to see how much ink I've picked up, and to get a good idea you want to do a little test. So that's not very much ink at all, so I'm going to pick up some more ink. And can you see that little smudge that I've made? That is a good reason why you don't go straight into the middle of your masked area. So when you ink, you want to start off the edge and work your way in. That might give you a very light amount of inking, but it's always better to start off light with a little bit of color and then add more than to start off really heavy and then realize, hang on, that was a bit too much. So, okay, I'm just speeding up all of this. So I just continue inking around all the edges. I'm working my way from the edges in, as you can see. And now that that's all done, now that doesn't look like it's very much, but just watch and see. When I peel away the washi tape, you can see actually I've got quite a little bit of ink on there, and it just gives this lovely pastel mint green sort of area in the middle, and it looks like I've added a matte in a mint green cardstock, but I haven't. I've just inked it lightly, so it's a really subtle look, and it frames the middle area of your card front nicely to add your focal point. Okay, now I'm going to be embossing my sentiment. Before I do that, because I've just inked my front panel, I'm going to test whether that ink is still wet or whether it's dry. Now you'll see that it just sticks straight to the panel. So what I do is, and you can't see this here, I've actually edited it out, I've wiped off that embossing powder and applied heat with my heat tool to dry up the ink panel. Now I'm going to take this paper tray ink sentiment set called Happiest of Holidays, that Peace, Love, Joy sentiment. I've mounted it onto a clear acrylic block, and I'm going to ink it up in Versamark Ink. Yep, pardon me, so I'm just inking it up and stamping towards the bottom of the inked area, as you can see. Now I'm going to pour some embossing powder over this, and the embossing powder will only stick to this clear sticky ink that I've just applied. I should have used an embossing tool or embossing buddy to remove any static so that the powder doesn't stick to anywhere else, but I totally forgot. So anyway, it's stuck to the sentiment. As you can see, the sentiment is all covered in embossing powder, but I've also got some extra embossing powder stuck, you know, in extra places. So I would just get my paintbrush, a dry paintbrush, and just brush off that excess embossing powder that may have stuck to random spots on the card. So now I've just put the embossing powder back in the jar, and I'll set that aside. Okay, so now I'm going to apply some heat with my heat gun. As you can see here, I am, the heat gun's on and I'm testing to see how hot it is. I want it to get nice and hot before I take the heat to the embossed sentiment. The reason for that is when you heat emboss, your cardstock tends to warp, and the hotter your heat gun is, the less time you'll need to apply heat to the embossing powder to melt it. And therefore, because you're applying heat for a shorter amount of time, your cardstock tends to warp a bit less. And I've also heated the back of that cardstock so that whatever warping happens when you're heating the front gets cancelled out by doing it on the back. There you can see a lovely shiny raised sentiment. Okay, so now I've got these pre-die cut snowflakes. Actually, I didn't die cut them. My wonderful mum die cut a whole bunch for me. She's helping me out while I make a whole bunch of Christmas cards for church. But I'll show you how I die cut them, or how mum die cut them, I should say. So I actually just printed out a whole bunch of these snowflakes. I did this on Stampin' Up's My Digital Studio software. It's a stamp set called Festive Flurries, and that's a digital version. So I guess it's like clip art, but a whole lot better. You can just print things out in any Stampin' Up color, and then you get this die which matches perfectly with the snowflakes that you've just printed out. And so I'm just attaching the die to the paper, taking off that tack again. So I've positioned the die perfectly over the snowflake, so I know it's going to cut out really centerized and it's not going to be all wonky. And now I'm just putting it in between the two cutting plates, and then I'll roll it through the big shot, which is really dusty, by the way. Didn't realize that. I do now when I'm doing this voiceover. Anyway, so that's done, and now I'm going to really carefully take the cut snowflake out of there. You don't want to be too heavy-handed with this or you'll rip it. Okay, so there we go. It's popped out of there, and then carefully take the washi tape off. Careful, you can never be too careful. And then it should pry away fairly easily. There we go. So I'll set that aside. All right, so here we go. There's our card base that's all inked and got the sentiment on there. And now it's just a matter of assembling the snowflakes on the front of the card. So here we go. So that's my placement, I've decided. And now I'm going to attach the snowflakes. The first big one in lavender, I'm going to use some tape runner just to attach that. That'll just be sitting flat on the card front. So this is glue tape from Bostik, and I just picked that up from my local Officeworks store. And then I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of this little snowflake. So that will have a bit of dimension. Gotta love a bit of dimension. Okay, so now I'm about to stick this little snowflake down. And then we're going to get ready to embellish our card. So I got my box of sequins out again. Sequins and embellishments. They're not purely sequins in there. But anyway, I've got these iridescent pearly white sequins. They're clear, but they're white, but they're pearly at the same time. And now to adhere them, I'm just going to stick some Mod Podge Dimensional Magic. I just put my glue down, one for the middle of each snowflake, and then it's always good to make a visual triangle. So I've got my two that'll go down the bottom and one sequin that'll go somewhere around there, the top. So once I've got those spots of glue down, I can then get my quick stick, which has a tacky end there, you can see on the left, and then this plastic tool pops out the back, and I just pick up my sequin. You can't see the sequin that I pick up, it's off screen, but I use the tacky end to pick up a sequin. So there you can see, I pick it up with the tacky end, put it on a glue dot, and then use the plastic tool to hold it down while I pull off the quick stick away from it. This tool has made my life so much easier when it comes to embellishing. I think I use sequins more now because I've got this tool, and it's much easier than fiddling around with my fat thumbs. So that's it, folks. There's the card. As you can see, it's really soft and pretty, pastel-y, airy and light, and a different colour combination for Christmas. And here's another shot of it. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.